Hello everyone and welcome back to Astronaut 49 reads Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, Chapter 19. Please leave a like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that fun YouTube stuff. It really does help my channel grow. At the town square, everyone is still gathered around the Sandman, prodding him, arguing about what should be done. Jack, everyone announced. When we approach, these are Sally's parents from Dreamtown. The mayor's scowling face perks down, all jagged teeth and pale lips. Dreamtown, he replies. There's no such place. What are you talking about, Jack? Sally found a new tree while we were all asleep, Jack explained, nodding towards the edge of town and the forest beyond. Then she and Zero put the Sandman to sleep, saving us all. The witch sisters ceased their tugging on the Sandman's robe, casting their eyes on me like they're not sure I'm capable of such a thing. And these are Sally, and it seems Sally is not from Halloween Town at all. Jack continues, she is from Dreamtown. A wave of gasps passed through the crowd. Zeldaborn faints, and Hildegrim makes no move to catch her sister before she hits the ground. With a sudden thud. Wow, some sister she is. Crowd tups from his. Oh, clown tups from his unicycle. Tipsy from his unicycle. Cyclops blinks his single eye, and Wolfman tilts his head back and lets out a strange low howl. Behind me, I hear the clank of metal against the uneven cobblestone. When I turn, Dr. Finkelstein is wheeling himself away from the town square. Dr. Finkelstein, Jack shouts, don't think you can flee so quickly. We're not done with you. Dr. Finkelstein stops abruptly, mouth twitching, and peers over his shoulder at Jack with a twitchingness. Mouth wrinkled and peers over his shoulder with a mouth twitchingness. Okay. His jaw, while my parents glare back at him, anger cutting into the soft seams of both their faces. But he knows there's no escape now. But first, Jack says, turning his attention back to the group, we must decide what will be done with the Sandman. We can't leave him here to sleep in our fountain. We should burn him, Helgrim suggests, lifting her finger to the air. No, let me crush him, Behemoth interjects, stepping forth, eyelids motionless, axe sunk in the top of his head, or toss him off a cliff. There are several nods in agreement. The group likes the idea. Yes, let's roll him off a cliff and watch him go splat, Corpse Kid adds, mouth curling into a malicious grin. The crowd chuckles, loving the image of a flattened Sandman. Jack takes several long, deliberate steps closer to the Sandman, eyeing the sleeping creature. No, we can't simply kill him. We can lock him in Finkelstein's lab, Clown shouts from the back of the group. Dr. Finkelstein grumbles, I don't have room for him. He'll take up too much space. But when Jack shoots him a look, Dr. Finkelstein snaps his mouth shut, realizing that he's in no position to argue. Not anymore. He'll be lucky if he gets to keep living in his observatory once Jack is finished with him and isn't forced to sleep out by the swamp with the frogs, yet the group seems less excited about the notion of simply locking up the Sandman. They murmur and shrug. They'd prefer a more clever, grisly way to dispose of him to ensure he never puts anyone to sleep again. We could make a stew of him, Zelda Bourne suggests as she gets to her feet, awakened from her fainting spell. We will have a big feast at the All Hallows Eve party. We're not going to eat him, Jack shakes his head. He might taste awful. The vampire brothers nod. He will surely have a bitter taste, remarks the vampire prince. Please, Jack, the mayor implores, lifting his small hands towards Jack. Let us decide quickly so we can move on to the other things. Halloween. Oops. I get the book to work. The book is broken. Give me a second. Is only a few days away. We don't have time for this. Yes, of course, Jack agrees, nodding and scratching at his forehead. Perhaps we should take a vote, the mayor continues, on what should be done with the Sandman. Toss him off a cliff, lock him in the observatory, or... But the mayor doesn't finish because there is a stirring of bubbles in the fountain, a churning of water. Everyone takes a step back from the green surface of the fountain. Two copper-yellow eyes emerge, blinking, watery. A webbed hand slaps against the edge, dripping, but it's only undersea gale. And she flips her mermaid fin over the side of the lower stone wall. She often likes to nap in the deepest part of the fountain at the tippy bottom? At the tippy bottom. I've never heard that expression before. And she must have been deep enough not to swallow the sleeping potion I poured into the soupy water. Now she slithers out onto the cobblestone. What did I miss? She asks, eyeing the Sandman and licking her long tongue. Across with fishy blue lips, as if the Sandman were something to be eaten whole. But Jack steps in front of the mayor. The Sandman is the property of Dreamtown. He belongs to them. They'll decide what should be done, not us. Jack nods towards my parents, and my father raises an eyebrow, just glancing around the crowd of spectators, then says, The cliff sounds reasonable to us. The crowd cheers, hoots and excitement echoing over the rooftops. Behemoth moves towards the fountain, eager to hoist the Sandman from the water. The hum of anticipation rises. The decision is made. We will march out to the swamp cliff together and be rid of the Sandman once and for all. Yet I wonder if this is the ending he deserves. I pick at the blade seam along my wrist, knowing what the Sandman did is unforgivable, cruel, and terrible, and if I hadn't stopped him, everyone would still be asleep. Yet there is a trembling in my chest I can't explain. Well, I mean, you put it to a vote. you all decided he dies, so I just, off with his head. Behemoth touches the lifeless arm of the Sandman, about to hoist him up when there is a gasping noise, a sputtering of breath. Behemoth glances around, eyes douching and confused, unsure where the sound is coming from. He's awake, Helgrim explains, pointing her hooked fingertip at the Sandman. The Sandman's eyes twitch and jerk. His shoulders arch back. We didn't move him fast enough. The potion is already wearing off. Everyone screams, and suddenly the vengeful crowd begins to disperse. No one wants to stick around to risk being put to sleep again. Wolfman, Behemoth, and Corpse Kid flee towards the cemetery. Lock, Stock, and Barrel stay a moment more, curious about the sputtering Sandman before the mayor ushers them away, along with the crowd. Along with Clown and Grim Reaper, the Vampire Brothers slink back into the shadows. There, one moment, and then gone. While the Witch Sisters scurry away to their shop, slamming the door shut, the Undersea Girl slithers up the cobblestone towards the swamp below town, but Jack and I stay where we are. My parents, too. Even Zero refuses to dash away into the dark, out of sight. We watch as the Sandman begins to mutter, voice thick with sleep, trying to rehearse some long-forgotten lullaby. His big, gray-blue eyes wink open, cloudy, roving around him like he's lost his sense of direction and can no longer recall where he is. But then his eyes snap firmly on me, sharp and jagged, sticks, broken at the ends. I take a shivering step back. He remembers me, the one he's been looking for all this time, and now here I am, a few short feet away. With shaking hands, he drags himself up, moving slowly, and steps free from the fountain. White robes dripping with green fountain water, but his eyes stay settled on me, balancing himself, and I know he's going to lunge at me. He's going to try to pull me apart at the seams, leaving nothing behind. Then he will make his way through Halloween Town, putting everyone back to sleep. I stop breathing, my leaves clattering beneath my ribs. But Jack steps towards the fountain, placing himself between me and the Sandman. My mind begins to race, calculating how quick I could gather more herbs and make another potion, and how we might trick him into taking it. But there's no time left, yet as I peer into the Sandman's eyes, I realize something seems off. The darkness rimming his eyes is gone. The clutched shadows of his features now faded. Something has changed. I step around Jack, and the Sandman stretches his arms over his head, yawning, cracking his neck to one side, then the other, clearing his throat. So that's what sleep feels like, he moans. How wondrous. I flash a look at my parents, but they look just as startled, unsure what to do. My father steps forward, careful and cautious. Sandman, he says, oh, he says, eye squinting. Ah, Albert, the Sandman replies, plainly toned, easy, no longer full of sharp-tongued lullabies. It's nice to see you. How have you been? My father's stalls, scratching at his temple, then Reese starts as if he never heard the Sandman speak this way and is unsure how to respond. You don't seem like yourself, he says at last. The Sandman raises his thick white eyebrows. I don't feel like myself, he agrees, rubbing a hand down his long white beard, straightening it. I feel strangely rested, and he drops his hand, concerning considering his words, with a low slant of his eyebrow. I think I even dreamed. I've never had my own dreams before, and it was delightful. You put everyone to sleep in the human world, my father says, shaking his head, and the holiday realms too. I did? The Sandman asks, squinting like he's trying to recall. I was so desperate for dreams after spending all those years in the woods, I guess I got a little carried away. His tone has a sheepish His tone has a sheepness amongst embarrassing tang to it, as if he has simply been caught stealing sugar cookies after bedtime, or trekking swamp mud across a clean floor. My mother squints, eyeing the Sandman. We had to banish you, she says, curtly, no kindness in her words. We can't allow you to continue stealing dreams. The Sandman nods, little trails of sand spilling from his pockets. I understand, but it seems, he taps a finger at his temple, I don't feel the same hunger for dreams as I used to. His eyes lift to me. I've never slept before, never had so much as an afternoon nap. He yawns again, as if recalling all those sleepless years, centuries of putting others to sleep, but never resting himself. But now that I've seen my own dreams, and it was splendid. Jack tilts his head at the Sandman. You could have just slept yourself, he says bluntly, instead of stealing other people's dreams. The Sandman swallows, settling his shoulders. Dream sand doesn't work on me. None of the usual remedies will do, but you, he directs his eyes back to me, piercing me with their cloud white hue. You put me to sleep. His voice catches with emotion, not anger, but something else, gratitude. I've never imagined I could have my own dreams And now I feel he rolls his shoulders back. I feel better than I ever had. Unusually clear-headed. Yeah, clear-headed. Is this how everyone feels after they sleep? He, his glaze flashes to my parents, then back to me. Sometimes, I reply carefully, still not entirely sure if we can trust him. 1 second. If this isn't some trick just like my decoys, and at any moment he will dive towards Jack and blow that white sand he has left in Jack's face. Dive towards Jack and blow what little sand he has left into Jack's face. Okay. But his mouth sinks and his eyes flash to the ground. I hope you'll all forgive me for stealing your dreams. He drifts towards and holds out his hands to Jack. No hard feelings. But Jack does not extend his hand in return. Sally is the one who Sally is the one who's owed an apology. Blech. He replies, she traveled to every holiday and even the human world trying to find a way to stop you. The Sandman shifts his eyes back to me, his beard dripping long in front of him, a softness in his features that wasn't there before. He is not the Sandman who hunted me, who tore the fake Sally doll apart, who likely would have done the same to me if he'd gotten a chance. I'm terribly sorry, he says, now voice low and remorseful, but thank you for putting me to sleep. Having my own dreams was far more satisfying than the ones I've been stealing. Zero hovers beside me, growling. He still doesn't like the Sandman being this close to me, but I can see from my parents' faces that he is no longer the Sandman they remember, the monster. Whoops. The monster they banished from Dreamtown into the woods. He seems suddenly innocent, harmless, really just a white-haired, white-beard wisp of a man with sand spilling from his pockets and a dreamy look in his eyes. Maybe he wasn't the villain of the story after all. He simply needed a long overdue nap. He needed a long overdue nap. Like a cranky child who had too many lemon sugar drops and gone too long without sleep. You can't steal any more dreams, I tell him, or we'll have to do far worse than banish you into the forest. The Sandman nods, more sand spilling from his pockets, his fingertips. As long as you'll share the recipe for that sleep tonic of yours, so I can take a nap every now and then and have my own dreams. You have yourself a deal. His face so soft and dreamy, not the wild, cranky expression that marred his features only an hour ago. Deal, I say, but when I hold out my hand, the Sandman doesn't shake it. He pulls me into a firm hug, folding his arms warmly, completely around me. Oh, so the Sandman just needed a nap. I might need that sleeping tonic myself, Sally. I have insomnia. All right. So that was chapter 19. We'll be picking back up on chapter 20 at a later date. I do hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff for me. It really does help my channel grow. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. Goodbye.